Good morning and good afternoon, everybody. Welcome to our next Sedaru Live. We're going to be talking about 811 tickets, one call locate tickets, call before you dig tickets, dig safe. Depending on what part of the world you're in, somehow we can't seem to come up with a name that we all like, but that's fine. So we're gonna dig into how you can use Sedaru to more effectively and accurately, faster completion and management of all these tickets that come in. So I'll give everybody a second to get situated in here and to get set up, and we'll jump into things. For those of you that have not used the Zoom webinar before, it's real similar to a Zoom meeting, right? Which I think everybody's getting really good at Zoom meetings. But a Zoom webinar, the big difference is there's a Q&A button. So take a moment right now in your interface and just kind of find where that Q&A button is on your interface. It should be on like the toolbar with the other sort of controls there. But that Q&A is where you're going to ask questions. And so as we're going through things and talking about this, I want everybody to ask questions. I want you to get as much information as possible out of this. And it's really the way that these are the most effective is the more interactive you are, the better. I look forward to hearing those questions. So let's see, social media, if you're not already, look for us on LinkedIn, look for us on Facebook, Twitter, however you, kind of consume some of your information here. Make sure to follow and look for Sedaru there. We post a lot of good information, including updated schedules around these webinars. We have webinars scheduled for the next few weeks here, a couple of weeks. So I think we're doing water quality on Thursday here as well too. So it's going to be some really interesting stuff there. So, but social media is a great place to find us and to stay up to speed on all of that information. Where does 811 fit into the Sedaru drops idea? Right, and we talk about, for those of you not familiar with drops, this is the Sedaru stepwise approach to being able to implement technology that's putting you on a path to being an automated, self-driving utility, right? And so we think about how do you consume information digitally, how do you work with it in a real-time side of things, which are really foundational pieces. And then once you're doing that, how am I going to be able to optimize what I'm doing? How am I going to be able to predict problems before they become problems? And then how do I head some of those things off at the pass, right? What kind of preemptive decision making can I make in there? And really 811 is a key opportunity for a lot of folks to reduce paper from the field. And 811 is interesting, right? Because there's these regional systems and everybody has a slightly different flavor on how they do some of it. But in many places, the workflows look like this. I get an email in. The email gives me a location. It sometimes has maybe a static map associated with it. Sometimes it's just an email. I go print those emails out. I then go look up the location on my map and my GIS. Maybe that's digital. Maybe that's a map book. I then try to figure out, do I have infrastructure there? Do I need to mark it out? Do I not need to mark it out, et cetera? And then I'm putting together my big stack of paper and I'm going in the truck and I'm driving around and I'm doing those things, right? And so that kind of process for smaller places works okay. It certainly doesn't scale really well. As more and more places are moving towards positive response, which we'll hit on as well too, positive response becomes really important, that you can figure out how to do these things digitally and figure out how to work on them in real time. And so it can be a messy process. Here's the other thing that is, that's painful about 811 sometimes from a water utility perspective, right? If you are out there spending money and resources, and let's say you're spending overtime money and extra dollars to get more maintenance work done and get hydrants replaced or replacing a water main break or, valve maintenance or fixing a pump and all these sort of things, right? Just fairly tangible, quantifiable benefits back to your utility on this. If you're spending lots and lots of extra time driving around with cans of spray paint, it's really hard to justify that. So So I think this is a kind of a no-brainer for a lot of utilities here. So let's kind of hop in and we'll talk about this a little bit. So I'm going to start in the Sedaru Omni platform, which is our office-based, web-based application in here, and so that is that's where you're going to see the incoming tickets. I'm going to kind of walk you through the process. Then we're going to hop into the field application and walk through that. From an overall sort of content side of things and how long this is going to take us, this is relatively straightforward to kind of demonstrate and show. So I anticipate this taking, I don't know, another 15, 20 minutes. We'll kind of walk through things. So there'll be plenty of time for you to ask questions too. But feel free to kind of fire away with the questions as we're going through things right here too. I'm happy to kind of answer those, to answer all those questions right on the fly here. All right, so we're in the Sedaru Omni application. And so what you're gonna see with Omni is a couple things. One, Omni is a place where you're gonna be able to view your GIS, okay? So it's designed to connect directly to my GIS. I'm gonna just zoom in on the map here, come into a couple locations here. And so as I zoom in, you'll see the map update, right? And I'm gonna see detail on the map. I will can do things like I can just come right in here and I can click on a pipe and see information about it, right? Or in this case, street layers as well. Whatever data I have about any application, about any asset that I have in my system, I'm gonna be able to select and see on the map. I wanna see information about this hydrant, I just click on it and can see it, right? So that part's really pretty straightforward. Here's what's cool is that you have across the top these performance tiles, and the performance tiles are how a lot of your information is organized and accessed within the Sedaru environment. And part of the idea is that we want to make it as straightforward and easy for even your most non-technical folks to be able to interact with Sedaru and to work with this interface. And so these performance tiles are a big piece of that. And so I'm going to kind of scroll through here. Let me maybe start at the beginning here. So I have a performance tile up here that is just dedicated to one call locate tickets, okay? And so I've got essentially different criteria in here that are running to sort of segment and look at these things. So I've got unassigned emergency tickets. I've got new non-emergency tickets, non-emergency tickets. I've got assigned emergency tickets, and I've got assigned non-emergency tickets. And then I've got recently closed tickets, right? So you can have as many different kind of queries, as many different pieces of this setup as you want. This is just a demo site that I'm showing you here that has 5 criteria, but you can really, depending on what your workflows look like, can set those criteria up to be just about any way that you want. In there and kind of tackle the workflow in any way that you want. So I'm going to start. Let's go ahead and do. Let's go ahead and just go to this tile here of new non-emergency tickets. All right. So when I click on that, which is pretty cool. So when I click on that, what that's going to do is that's going to automatically highlight for me the 4 different tickets over here on the right-hand side. Okay, so what I'm looking at here is a ticket number, and then I'm looking at when those tickets came in. Okay, now what you're looking at here, you can also control what information gets displayed here, and you'll see when I go in the field, there's a different view of this. But you can have more information in here. I don't think you'd want to have less, but you could have more information, and it's going to show you what's what. What you're also going to see is as I move my mouse over here, and let me do this real quick. I'm going to hit the filter button here. So the filter button automatically cleans up my map for me so I can see the individual location of those tickets there. Because sometimes the map itself here is actually driven by what you're seeing there is what tiles you have highlighted up there. So the map's pretty dynamic and pretty cool, but you can also end up with lots of information in there, right? So you can kind of use that to quickly filter that out. So essentially, I've got 4 unassigned tickets. And so what I need to do now is assign those tickets to somebody, right? So I've got one out here that I can see information on here, got another here. And as I do this, you see they're all getting multiple or getting selected in here. So pretty easy to kind of use that interface. And I'm going to come in here, and now it says, what kind of work do I want to do on these here, right? And it's an 811 ticket. The only choice I have in here is 811 locates, right? Now I can decide who do I want to assign it to, and I'm going to assign it to me. I can fill in other information in here if I want. You wouldn't for an 811 ticket, but I could set up recurrence intervals on any tasks or anything that I do. But I'm going to come in here, and I'm going to update these 4 work orders and assign them directly to me. All right. Now, a couple other things that I can check out and do within here. And let me kind of clear this filter out. And I'm going to zoom in here a little bit so you can see in more detail. One of the neat things that happens in here is when that ticket comes in, you see, and we'll look at this in the field, you can see, because it looks a little bit different, you can see this polygon that gets drawn within here, all right? And so what's happening is and let me go in here and let me show you this in a little bit better of a view here. Hang on one second. Oops. All right. Let me zoom out here because I want to show you a little bit better view. So when a ticket comes in, what you're able to see on the ticket is a polygon is automatically going to get drawn in here. So here's a ticket that came in, right? And I can see it on the map. I can see the information about it, right? So this is an emergency ticket. That's why we weren't looking at that before. It's going to break out for me the street information, the cross street information, all of this stuff in here. And what's neat is all of this is essentially coming from here, right? So that's the full content of the email that's coming in. One of the common questions that comes up is like, so how does this actually work? How are you actually bringing the ticket in here? And so what happens is that full ticket piece that comes in here comes in that email and looks something like that. And then what's called Sedaru Connect, which is our middleware, actually is parsing all of that out and loading that information into these separate fields that you see in here. And then all that separate fields and all that separate information then gets loaded into the database and then can be assigned as part of the ticket there. So let's go in on the field side of things and let's take a look at what that looks like. So I'm going to just change my screen sharing around here a little bit so we can see that a little bit easier. Right. Give me 1 second. We'll start sharing. I'm going to do this off of my iPad here, so we'll show that. All right. Let that pop up here. All right, cool. So we're looking at my iPad. So interface looks a little bit different, right, than what you're thinking about from the field side of things. So this is designed as a field interface, right? And so what I'm going to see here is as I touch on any of these tiles, it's going to show me all the work that's been assigned to me, organized by asset type, right? So I've got 18 pipe-related tasks assigned to me. I got 15 hydrant-related tasks. I've got 28 some valve-related tasks. As I zoom in, I can see the details of all those, see the detail on the map, et cetera, right? But we're here to talk about 811 tickets, so I'm going to touch on those in here. And I'm going to come in and take a look on the map of exactly where those are, right? And so I can come in here and zoom right in. And now here's what's cool, right? When I'm out in the field, right, I now can see exactly what the locate area itself looks like, okay? So when it comes time to actually do the mark out. And so I'm going to come in, I'm going to touch on one of these in here, all right? So here's this one, and you see here what's interesting, right? I touch on that ticket, and it's giving me a lot more information than what I was looking at in the office side of things. So again, you can really manage what you want your field staff to see. Do you want them to see a lot? Do you want them to see a little, et cetera, et cetera? And so here I'm seeing that information. We're going to zoom in, just keep zooming in, use my fingers. I'm just going to zoom in even a little bit closer so we can now really see all the detail in here. And you see over on the right, all the information that I've got associated with this, okay? So I've got all of that information in there. Now, when I'm ready to actually go ahead and work on the ticket, I just go ahead and hit start, right? And can go in and fill out my information. Now, you can set this 811 ticket completion form up to have as much or as little information as you want, okay? Really meant to be simple. I think I like to err on the side of make it simple for the field folks as opposed to having lots and lots of things to fill out. You might have an existing paper form that you have, you might, et cetera. So it's really, it's up to you how you want that to look. I can come in here and you see here there's a response field setup, right? Here's one of the key things that we try to do with this or encourage people to do is when you're filling out your response area, have it be a drop down that kind of clearly lists all the different options in there, right? Don't make it so that your field folks are having to type a bunch of things and that you end up with very different, like if you think about, you look at an option here, locate area marked, right? Now think about how many different ways that somebody could write that they marked the area and located it, right? And now you end up with 10 different ways that that's getting reported and it gets hard to look at, right? You very well also from your state agency, they might have particular positive response codes that need to go back as well too. And so those can be incorporated in there as well too. For those of you folks that don't know as well too, positive response means that you have to proactively notify that regional agency that you went ahead and completed the task, right? There's no assumption that you have it done. And again, the laws kind of vary from place to place and are somewhat in flux, right? So, but Sedaru fully supports positive response as well. So what that means is when I complete the form is that the information that needs to go back to 811 is not only written to the Sedaru database, but it's also pushed back to that regional 811 center as well too. So from here, I can always grab pictures as well. I can set these up to do as many pictures as I want. We'll grab a picture in here. Let's see, do the, all right. Grab that. So we'll throw that picture up in here. You can add as many pictures as you want, as little as you want, etc. It's really up to you. Date completed. I can go ahead and throw in, today's date and time in there. I can add the other pictures if I wanted, and I can come in here and say next. And so I've also got the option when I do these, do I want to fill out labor, equipment, and materials? Sometimes folks, they don't even want to bother with that. But you have that option. It can be set up on all these work order types that you can do that. So I'm going to go in and my name's in here. So we'll say, I spent half an hour, right? Doing this particular mark out. We'll save that in here. And, equipment, did I use a truck? Let's see. Do I have anything good in here? What? Find something fun. No, maybe not. All right, we'll just pick something, use that. So the same thing, I can kind of have all that equipment loaded in there. I can track all those pieces. So it's really meant to be super easy for you, for your field staff. I'll go ahead and hit save. Now what's cool is that automatically turns green on the map, right? I can see exactly, I can see that it's been done. The attachment now is uploaded here. The history is uploaded right from here as well too, right? So it's really simple for the field folks to understand, okay, we got this work completed, it was uploaded, they can see it, they can know that it's done. And that kind of like confirmation is really important back on the field side. And then you see across the top where we did have 9, or we did have 10 tickets that we needed to complete. Now we've only got 9. If I swipe to the right here on this right panel too, there's a completed panel in here as well too. And so that shows me the tickets that have been completed and what I can, shows me what's been completed, and I can easily manage that from there. All right, so that's kind of the way that the field application works. Certainly, fire away with some questions about the field side. I'm going to hop back into the office side here in a little bit and show you how some of those pieces work. But a couple other things I'll just mention in the field side as well too. So this is designed, like I said before, to work off of Esri data as well, right? So you get this really neat meld of data coming in from 811 plus data coming in from the Esri side, seeing it all together on the map. So you can set up your Sedaru environment where Sedaru's hosting information for you, or you can set it up where you're hosting all of your data yourself as well too. Including your enterprise GIS, and Sedaru's tying in and communicating with that. So that's a conversation that we typically, will have during the kind of discovery process of figuring out what's the best way to architect things for you. But the IT folks tend to like it because there's lots of options, right? Sometimes they're happy to host more data and to do more things. Other times you're looking to kind of offload and get stuff away from them, and it's great. I will tell you this too, this kind of workflow in a COVID-19 kind of world, and where we're thinking about reducing touch points with people, works really well. And I've heard this from multiple folks, right? So if you've got folks doing one-call locates, right, that their workflow used to involve them having to come in from the office at home, or in from home, drive into the office, print out a bunch of paper, do all of those pieces, right? Now you've got the ability that those folks can essentially go right from home, right to where they need to go, right? They can be logging in from home, seeing all the tickets, seeing where they exist in there, and then being able to have them processed, assign, look at them, go do the activities, and really kind of minimize the amount of time and interaction that they have to have with other staff in there. So I've heard some really positive feedback from some of our folks around that, and are pretty thankful that they've made the investment to do that with 811 and their tickets and how those things work. Hang on a second, everybody. All right. Let's go back and look at the office side of things here a little bit. And I'm going to go back to my computer. I'm going to switch off the iPad here. Right. Let's go back to sharing my main screen here. All right. All right, cool. So we're back in the office piece here. And so a couple things I can do in here. I can see, we can go back here and I can see closed 811 tickets, right? So I can touch on the tile. It's going to show me what's been done. So I can see here, one of my coworkers here, Andrew, did a ticket yesterday. Here's the one I just did today. I can touch on that. I can zoom right into the location, right, where I'm seeing the exact same thing that we just looked at in there, and see that information in here. There's actually multiple tickets that have been associated with this as well here too. So I can kind of see that as well, and see that information right here. Let's see. And let me grab one of these questions in here. Let's see. The question was basically, as an IT person, do I need to worry about managing personally identifiable information with respect to 811 tickets? That's a great question, right? So there's a couple approaches, a couple things that I would think about with that, right? One, from a policy perspective, that varies from place to place to place a little bit, right? So it's really hard for me to give a generic answer to say, this, I need to worry about this and not worry about this piece, right? Second, so you need to kind of look for an answer for that. In general, one of the big things with a lot of if you remember, what happens with 811 tickets is they're getting emailed into you anyway, right? So there's a piece of a lot of those are all falling into the same kind of rules with email and that you're going to get in terms of FOIable information and all that piece of stuff, right? And then sort of the third from a technology piece is you actually do have control from a technology side of things of what information do you want to be able to display and show to people, right? So if you want to really limit down what your folks in the field see for information, then you can control that. It can be configured so that only certain number of fields are seen and shown, and you really want to, you want to limit all that information down. But generally, I think when we're talking about an excavator that has requested information, being able to kind of have the name and phone number of that person and making that available and all that, I think you're probably fine. I see a lot more of the PII issues when you're talking about sort of broad exposure of a customer database and some of those things. So back here in the Omni application, I can see completed tickets. I can see where those are done. And I'm going to show you a different example here because, let's see. All right. I'm going to show you a different example that I think is interesting here. So I can toggle between a map view here, right, and a trend view. And the map view and the trend view are pretty cool because the map view lets me kind of spatially see what's going on, right? And then the trend view is going to allow me to kind of see over time how things are trending, right? So here we can look at 811 tickets that have been completed, right, over the last 3 months, okay? And it's pretty interesting here, actually. And I don't know what, in your neck of the woods, I know in this particular city, as of a few weeks ago, they essentially canceled most of the street cut permits because there was concern about disruption within the water and sewer system that was going to affect hospitals, et cetera. So they basically have the cities across has just canceled all the street cut permits. So you see the number of tickets, just fall off right here. In terms of completed tickets, there's still, things kind of coming in, but in terms of closed tickets. But now I've got this really nice set of reporting in here that I can manage. And so I can kind of see every single day what's been done. How many tickets are we completing? How are we doing? So when you go and you think about how you have to report back to the boards or your other sort of stakeholders, and people want to know and understand, like, gosh, why are you requesting more staff, right? Or they want to, 811's tricky because for many folks, it's really kind of an unfunded mandate for them and things that they have to tackle. So you have this really nice reporting that's right from here. If I wanted to pull out the details of that report, I can go ahead and do that right from here. I hit create report. It's going to dump all that information out into Excel for me, and I've got a record of all those things. What's also really cool about this is, when I go ahead and I look at the map, right, and dig into some of these things, I want to see things that have been completed. Let me see if I can we'll zoom in on an area here. If there's ever questions that come back up, and you can control the settings, how some of this stuff gets displayed, but you see here, this polygon is an 811 ticket, right? And so I have a full record of this going back in time. So if for some reason the question comes up later, like, did you mark it? Did you not? How did that work? I've got a polygon that was created in my GIS. I've got pictures that were collected in the field. I've got all this information around it. And so chances are you're going to come out on the positive side of that, right? Because you're going to have better documentation that shows that all those things have been done. All right, well, good. We're bumping up towards the end of our time. If there's any other questions, just go ahead and fire them in there real quick. And I'll go ahead and try and get those answered. Like I said, we've got more webinars planned going forward here. We're talking about water quality on Thursday, which I'm really excited about. Some really neat ways to apply Sedaru to your existing workflows and some of those existing water quality workflows and how some of those pieces work. So let's see, one of the questions, how would I look at historical historical tickets. And there's a couple different ways. And I'll show you here. So in this case, I've just got one that says that's showing me recent closed tickets. I've got the ability in here that I can come in on what's called my controls view in here as well too. And I can start modifying and changing criteria for all of these dig tickets in here as well too, right? So this is showing me tickets done in the last 28 days or within, other date ranges. So I have some simple ways that I can just have those pieces set up in there, and to be able to kind of easily do that. So that's one way to kind of filter and do the tickets. Another question is, can you filter on emergency from non-emergency tickets? Yeah. You can really take any of the criteria of a ticket. So you see here, I've got a tile that just talks about emergency tickets. I've got another one for non-emergency tickets, right? So all those criteria can be filtered out within these individual tiles, and you can work with them from there as well too. Let's see. One of the other questions is, when a ticket is completed in the field, does that send a response to the ticket owner in 811? Yeah, and that's the built-in positive response piece, right? And the way that works, well, let me actually put it this way. It's designed to interact with the regional 811 center, okay? So if I'm an excavator and I submit to the regional 811 center, 811 farms those tickets out to everybody, right? So then you can go and you respond back to, when you complete your work order in Sedaru, that's going to write back to 811, okay? And then what 811 can do is controls the notifications back to the excavator, back to the customer. So we're not doing that piece directly from Sedaru, but we are doing the positive notification piece back to the regional 811 center. And another question, can an 811 ticket be generated in the field? Great question. So answer is no, not really, right? So this is for processing incoming tickets. You will see, and we have some stuff like in our Sedaru outage application, we have the ability to set up a link to 811 where you can push your emergency ticket, or you can push your tickets in there. Depends though, different regions have different rules around emergency tickets. Some of them require phone calls around it and some of that. So today, this isn't set up to actually generate new tickets, but just to handle all the incoming tickets that you've got coming in. All right. Well, good questions, everybody. Thanks for your time. Really appreciate everybody taking a few minutes out of their day. Like I said, we're going to have more of these webinars coming up. Look forward to seeing you folks on those and continuing to share some of the great stuff we're doing with Sedaru and some of the great things that you guys are doing with Sedaru too. So it's really, really fun to share and to be able to spend this time with you. Thanks, everybody. We'll talk to you soon.